Hello and welcome to the second in our tape series. We are going on a guided tour through the Lazeria map collection. We do not have enough time to show every map. However, we will look at some very old maps, as well as some new maps, some old map books, and some new map books. Together, we will carefully examine some of the rarest and strangest maps in the world. This program is intended to be scholarly because it is based entirely on fact. However, your own conclusions will determine whether or not you believe what you see is true. It will not take a cartologist to appreciate and understand these maps. However, it would be necessary to have some interest in factual history. We would like for this program to cause you to think and challenge certain principles that you've been taught. We would like for you to ask questions that you never dreamed of asking before. To begin our journey, we're going to go back to the year 1805. Alright, the first map we're going to show you is from 1805, and it is an Arrowsmith Lewis. You'll notice it is a black and white map, and we start to see a couple of names crop up. Right here we have Davis C. And Davis explored this region from 1585 to 1587. And here, of course, you'll notice the Hudson Sea, Hudson Straits. And Henry Hudson was in this area in the 1610, 1611 time frame. You notice right here, Southampton Island is actually a peninsula. And for some reason, Southampton Island is a peninsula on virtually every map of North America that was done between the years 1650 and 1820. Now, right here we have Greenland, and we have a huge white expanse here, which we're assuming is unexplored, unknown. We don't see a lot of detail in these islands right here in this area. It just looks like a horn going up north of the Hudson Bay, attaching itself to the body of the continent. But as we will see later, there are a bunch of islands here. And coming over to this area, you'll notice the country of Alaska, this area, the territory of Alaska, doesn't have a name, but the word Alaska does appear right here at the Aleutian Islands. That's the only place Alaska is listed. This was a respected map in its day. It was perhaps published in small atlases for basic high school, college reference work. It is an 1805 Arrowsmith Lewis. Okay, the next map we're going to show you is a J.H. Colton from 1855. Now, Colton was well known for his fine embroideries of all of his engravings and printings. Absolutely beautiful. And his accuracy was well detailed too. You'll notice the Gulf of Mexico here, Central America, eastern coast of North America, the west coast of North America. Right here you'll notice there's British possessions, and right here it says United States. Now we're going to look a little closer in this area, starting here with Greenland. Greenland has a new shape, but it stops right up here. And we have a few more names. There's Frobisher, who was in this area in the 1570s. And Baffin Bay. Baffin, of course, was here in the early 1600s. You'll notice Southampton Island is now an island. It's pretty accurate. And Hudson Bay looks well detailed. And there are a couple of important rivers that go into Hudson Bay. And you'll notice in this area the islands are starting to break up more, perhaps revealing a northwest passage through here. And right over here we come to Russian America. The word Alaska can only be found right here where the Aleutians are. And back up here you'll notice an expanse of white, which we are assuming is unexplored. Now, a couple of years before this map was printed, there was an explorer named Robert McClure who'd said he'd traveled through the Northwest Passage, and that he was the first. But there are other accounts way before then, such as the one in 1595, when the merchant trader Michael Locke reported that he'd met up with an old Greek sailor in Venice, and this Greek sailor had told him that he had been through the Northwest Passage in 1592. Now, there was a lot of controversy when this map was made concerning the Northwest Passage. And in 1845, there was an expedition launched by Sir John Franklin. He set out to look for the Northwest Passage, but he and his crew and his ship vanished, never to be seen again. Once again, this is a beautiful full-color map from 1855 by J.H. Colton. Our next map is a full-color Johnson Ward, printed in 1862 at the height of the Uncivil War. Let's notice the same things we've noticed in some of the other maps. Coastline, eastern North America, looks very good. Florida, the west coast is very accurate. The Hudson Bay is even more accurate. Southampton Island is actually much larger. Hudson Strait. We can see the detail on all these islands through here. Perhaps a couple of ways that a sailor, an explorer, could get through the Northwest Passage. Looking over here at Greenland, the east coast of Greenland is somewhat very undefined. There's a couple of new apparitions, some new inlets in Greenland. And here we have the expanse of white again. And coming down to Alaska, we still have Russian possessions. The word Alaska is only on the Aleutians. Now, our history books tell us that in 1867, Alaska was purchased by the United States from Russia. But that's not really true. The United States actually purchased Alaska from the Russian-American Fur Trading Company. The Russian-American Fur Trading Company owned this entire region. It was a company. The Eskimo originally inhabited this area. In 1867, when Alaska was purchased, there were 26,500 native Eskimo and less than 1,400 fur trading workers. The territory was purchased for $7,200,000. I wonder how much they gave the Eskimo for that. Once again, this is a map crafted in 1862 by Johnson and Ward. Our next map was crafted in 1873 by J. David Williams. This is also a beautiful full-color map. United States. Many of the states are starting to take their modern-day shapes. And we have a lot more detail in this area. Now we see literally hundreds of islands and many, many different passageways through these islands. We might ask, how come other explorers didn't know this region had so many islands and passageways? But most every one of them are named after some explorer from one time period or another. Back up here, we see the east coast of Greenland is starting to take its shape. We stop right here on Greenland, except for this area. Of course, we have again our huge white expanse of what we are believing is unexplored territory at the time. Alaska is now called United States territory. The search for the Northwest Passage at this time kind of took a back seat to the fact that the Suez Canal opened up, and at the same time we are told that explorers ceased to look for the Northeast Passage also. Going back in 1905, Royal Amundsen traversed the Northwest Passage, going close to the North Pole up in the Arctic Ocean. But there are earlier accounts, as well as the ones mentioned previously. In 1640, there supposedly was an Admiral Fonte de Fuca who claimed that he'd sailed through the Northwest Passage not once but twice. And in the mid-1700s, there were several accounts given, many different explorers and sailors stating that they had been through the Northwest Passage. Most every one of the early explorers claimed of seeing open polar seas in this area, vast bodies of water. In 1652, a gentleman named Joseph Moxon recorded that he had met up with a Dutch sailor who had just returned from a voyage to the North Pole, stating that the vessel he was on had achieved 2 degrees beyond the North Pole, where they came upon an open sea. The weather had changed quite suddenly, and his quote was, "It was as warm as Amsterdam in the summer." Once again, this is from 1873, a J. David Williams. Our next map is of Antarctica.